present in the chamber and those that are listening online, and I declare the meeting open at 7:04 p.m. We have any members of the public that have registered to speak by audio visual link on an agenda item. Could I please ask you keep your microphone muted and video off until I invite you to speak. Speakers will not be able to present material as part of their speaking time or share their screen. Everyone at this meeting is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual, use appropriate language and tone, and do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks, as defamation laws apply to addresses in the public forum. I also ask councillors to observe the requirements under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette, including debate on an item will commence only once we have a mover and a seconder. The mover has a right of reply before the motion is put to a vote. Please raise your hand if you wish to speak. And on commencement of you speaking on a motion or amendment, please indicate clearly whether you are speaking for or against. And you can speak for up to maximum of 5 minutes for or against a motion. I remind all present that the video recording is an official record of council and may be made available to persons upon request in accordance with the Government Information Public Access Act 2009. No other recordings are permitted. I would now like to acknowledge country and acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Gadigal and Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. The people of the Eora Nation, their spirits and ancestors will always remain with our waterways and the land, our Mother Earth. Opening prayer, I would now like to thank and invite Reverend Colin Watts from St Stephen's Anglican Church, East Lakes, to open the meeting in prayer. Thank you, Reverend. Please be standing.
Thank you. Lord God, through your Son Jesus, you have revealed your servant heart and have taught us that greatness is expressed through the service of others. And so we thank you for our council members who have offered themselves in service of our local community and pray that you might bless them in their endeavours. Give them wisdom in their decision-making, fruitfulness in their decisions, and may they work together in harmony for the common good of the people of Bayside. Amen.
Thank you. We appreciate the time you've taken to come and for your words tonight. Thank you. Attendance and apologies. There are no apologies. However, we have a request for attendance by audio link from Councillor Cedric. So that means we have to undertake a procedural motion to allow Councillor Cedric to attend the meeting online. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor McDougall. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. This takes us to item 5, disclosures of interest. So I note, thank you to councillors who have submitted the your disclosures of interest. Are there any? So, Councillor Fardell. Could you just please stand up? Thank you.
I declare a less than significant non-pecuniary interest in item CWA 22.032 on the basis that I attended the AHIPA flag raising function and stated I will remain in the chamber for consideration and voting on the matter.
Thank you, Councillor Fardell. Councillor Werner.
Interest in item CWA 22.032 on the basis that I attended a fundraiser for Bayside Women's Shelter at the Leasees venue, but I will remain in the chamber for consideration and voting on the matter.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. I'll just work with the list first, or maybe I will add the same the same declaration there.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm adding the same declaration as Councillor Werner just added. Would you like me to read it out again, or that's okay?
I think it's the same.
Yeah, it's the
So
same.
that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Next we have Councillor Saranowski.
Madam Mayor, thank you. In relation to 11.2 as it's printed, in planning proposal, I'm kind of non-feeling interest, but my family own, so relatives of mine own property in CBD, and I'll put myself from the chamber and I'll vote on it. On L11.3 CWA, 15 years ago, I had my son's christening at this place, so paid for it, but I won't be in the chamber when this item's discussed. Next one is 72 Laycock, which is CWA 22033. 2021, I attended the flag raising services at the premises. So it's a less than significant non-produced, but I'll be in the chamber. 11.5, which is Genevieve Villa Kappa. I attended a social event with one of the joining owners, and I'll exclude myself from being the. I'll leave the chamber when this item is considered.
Thank you, Councillor Saranowski. 0.5, yeah. Okay, Councillor Souness.
CWA 22032, bond by Benny Cooley, as stated in it. And CWA 22.033, road regeneration of Local Street.
Thank you, Councillor Souness. Councillor Wyder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The item 10.11, the draft planning proposal, declare less than significant non-pecuniary interest, and my family own property in the Bexley area, but will not be voting, and I'll be leaving the chamber. And also, sorry, CWA 22.033, less than significant non-pecuniary interest, same, my family own property. Actually, my family live in the same street in close proximity to 72 Laycock Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wyder. Councillor Hannah.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to declare less than significant non-pecuniary interest in the future management models for the Angelo Anistis Aquatic Centre on the basis that I am a member of that facility and regular user of the centre. However, I have no connection to the current operator, or as far as I'm aware, any other operator of aquatic facilities. So I'll be remaining in the chamber for consideration and voting on the matter. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hannah. And that also is for 14.1. You'd like to add that as well? Is that correct? Because it's the
Yes,
other,
yes,
it's
please.
the other item
Same.
associated.
Same thing. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Douglas.
Yes, I'd like to declare a significant non-pecuniary pecuniary interest in item CWA 22.032 on the basis of perception, as Ilias Sortsis, a candidate at the council election on 4th of December 2021, and the son-in-law of the lessee of the Lassans restaurants, gave me preferences as his third preference at the election, and so I will leave the chamber for consideration and voting on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Councillor McDougall. Sorry, can you just give me the 10 point, 10 point, CPE. Oh, yep. And what was it? Oh, Slade Road. Oh, okay. Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Are there any, Councillor Naji?
Yes, on item 10.11, I'm declaring that I won't be in the chamber on the basis that I'm on the City Eastern panel. And also, I'm just a bit confused. If we go down to Councillor Saranovsky's declaration, something about the boulevard, and I'm aware he's consistent with declaring, but is the applicant, unless I'm missing something, is the former applicant has anything to do with this new proposal? If it is, I might have to declare that sometimes.
No.
No, that's all. That's why I'm a bit confused. Yeah, I know. That's all right. Thank you.
Any other disclosures?
Yes, me, Madam Mayor.
Oh, Councillor Cedric, yes?
Hi, good evening.
No, I can't hear you very well. Can you maybe move to the
Yep, sure. Is that better?
We might, one moment, Councillor Cedric, I might get our sound increased just to make sure. Okay, Councillor Cedric.
It's in regards to CWA 22032, the Brighton building there, the Brighton Baths building. I have a family member who is working in that vicinity, so I will declare significant pecuniary interest. I'll be stepping out of the chamber for that.
Thank you, Councillor Cedric. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other disclosures of interest? No? Okay. That takes us, councillors, to the minutes of the previous meeting. Can I ask two councillors who were present to move and second? Move Councillor Jansen, second and Councillor Wada. Any issues? Okay, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, declare it carried. All right, councillors, we have some presentations of certificates today. So we're very proud of some of our staff who have received Planning Excellence Awards, which is absolutely wonderful. And councillors may have already seen that we won 2 prestigious planning awards at the 2022 Planning Institute of Australia Planning Excellence Awards, which were held earlier this month. And so we've got the first award to recognise was the Technology and Digital Innovation Award, which Bayside Council was awarded in recognition of the innovative way Council integrated its corporate applications with the New South Wales Planning Portal. This integration means that we have seamless, automated transfer of information between Council systems and the portal, which improves efficiency and customer experience. So I'd like to congratulate, on behalf of all of us, all the staff involved in this project, and I'm pleased to present this certificate to the key leads on this project. And I invite Manager Information Technology Mark Cleland and Miriam Fares, the Coordinator of Spatial and E-Planning, to come forward and receive a certificate, please. Congratulations to you both. Okay, the second award presented to Council was the Stakeholder Engagement Award. Council shares this award with Cred Consulting and Collective Impact Arts, who are engaged by Council to help deliver Council's child-orientated community engagement around the Sir Joseph Banks Master Plan. And we're all very excited. I hear one of the major pieces was delivered this morning on a large truck and was headed into the playground ready for a January completion. And I have to say the feedback from community around the consultation was really well received, with opportunities for children to really contribute, which was absolutely fantastic. So this award recognises best practice public engagement and the collaborative process which Council undertook in planning the regional play space. The feedback from kids and families involved in this project was so insightful that it allowed our designers to shape and tailor the facility in a very purposeful and meaningful way. I'd like to, on behalf of Council, congratulate all staff involved in this award, and I'm pleased to present the certificate to the key leads on this project from Council's Strategic Planning Team, Manager Strategic Planning, Claire Harley, and Coordinator City Design, Maritza Abra. Congratulations to our teams across Bayside on receiving these. Yeah, that's what I remember too. Okay, councillors, this takes us to the Merrill minutes. So the first Merrill minute tonight is on accessible parking technology and a partnership that councils entered into. And so I'd like us to note the rollout of technology to improve accessibility and inclusivity across the Bayside LGA. So this agreement with the New South Wales Government Department of Customer Service allows for the supply, installation and management of parking sensors in dedicated accessible parking spaces across the Bayside LGA. So this is expected to occur in the first half of next year, and will include integrating the data from smart sensors back to the New South Wales Government Park and Pay app for community members to utilise and view the availability of parking spots in real time. So all our accessible parking spots, you can view where they're situated, whether it's available or occupied, and then also the use of GPS to actually get to that spot. So this is a fantastic initiative, and it also is against our Disability Inclusion Action Plan, which you'll recall we endorsed earlier in the year. And what it does, it ensures everyone in our community can access parking and other areas. So I put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against, I declare that carried. The second motion tonight is taking action on affordable housing across Bayside. So what this Merrill Minute does, it asks that council support taking action to increase the supply of affordable housing across Bayside, that council notes the Strategic Strategy Land and Property Working Group that most of you attend, and where what we're actually doing is assessing council's land holdings in part to identify future opportunities for increasing the stock of affordable housing. So it's great work that we're already doing this year. That council investigates how planning controls can actually be used to increase affordable housing stock in the local area, including consideration of how an affordable housing contribution scheme could be implemented. and that council continues to work with Resilient Sydney to jointly advocate to federal and state governments to establish effective evidence-based policies and programs for the delivery of affordable housing, and that council notes that Bayside Council currently has 45 units of affordable housing in its housing portfolio. So as we know, Sydney is in the midst of a housing crisis, so low income and increasingly middle income workers in our community are finding it difficult to access housing that is affordable and or appropriate to their needs. The General Manager and I attended the Sydney Mayoral Summit on affordable housing on the 27th of October to discuss what councils can do to contribute to solving that housing crisis. And so working together to look at how we can look at affordable housing in this context that is owned or managed by a community housing provider and rented to low income households for a proportion of their household income. So the summit was convened by South Sydney Regional Organisation, or SSROC, on behalf of the Resilient Sydney Diverse and Affordable Housing Steering Committee in delivery of Action 7 of the Resilient Sydney Strategy. So we as members of SSROC are, there's a whole piece of work being done there, which is fantastic, where all councils are working together to achieve the best outcome so that we can really increase affordable housing and support that within our community. So I put the motion. All those in favour say aye. You may speak, Councillor Werner.
I rise to commend this motion. I think it's fantastic, and I'd like to congratulate the Mayor and the GM and SSROC and all the staff that have worked really hard on this. There's a lot of really great initiatives that are part of this, including the SSROC's work to provide a template by which we can have affordable housing contribution schemes. So yeah, this is wonderful work, and just wanted to congratulate everyone for doing this. I've got one little thing to add to this, if possible. So I'd like to propose another point to add to this, and then it's actually part of a motion later on, which can then be withdrawn, I guess, if this is included anyway. So what I wanted to include, if it's okay with you, Mayor, is that, just getting the wording, that council schedules a presentation for councillors in early 2023 on planning, partnering and investment arrangements that are effective in delivering affordable housing. And this presentation is actually because we've had a generous offer from researchers at the University of Sydney who've done a piece of research for the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute, and it's about private investment options for affordable housing as well. So, so yeah, would that be
yeah, and that was
acceptable?
on our agenda, wasn't it, to hold something in the first half of 2023. What we're doing is waiting for more to come out of SSROC and doing things in consultation. So it's a that way then we're all undertaking a piece of work that where a number of councils are supported. There's the research and the evidence that underpins that. So yeah, I'm happy to say in the first half of 2023. It's there. Okay, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, declare it carried. The next mayoral minute is the Uluru Statement of the Heart and Voice to Parliament. It's worth taking a look at some of the background before I present this minute to you. In 2017, 250 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander delegates gathered in the shadow of Uluru and put their signatures on a historic statement. The Uluru Statement of the Heart is addressed to the people of Australia and seeks to create a better future via the proposal of two key reforms. The first one is enshrining a voice in Parliament via the Constitution. The second one is establishing a Makarrata Commission to undertake processes of treaty making and truth-telling. Our Prime Minister is committed to implementing the Statement of the Heart in full. And as you know, Bayside Council is situated on Gadigal and Bidjigal land, and we are deeply connected with the Indigenous community. Some of Sydney's oldest traditional custodians reside in our area and have done so for their whole lives. Bayside recognises this enduring cultural connection, and our Reconciliation Action Plan adopted earlier this year seeks to promote reconciliation, respect and trust between our Aboriginal community. We specifically call out supporting the Uluru Statement in our RAP that we endorsed as Council. As implementing the Uluru Statement involves changes to the Constitution, a referendum will be held at a date yet to be announced by the government. Our member for Barton, the Honourable Linda Burney, is of course, as you know, also the Federal Minister for Indigenous Australians and will be heavily involved in the lead up to the referendum. A number of ways in which we as Bayside can support the Statement of the Heart are contained in this minute. These include a community education strategy, deeper consultation with our Indigenous community and other awareness raising activities. I commend this minute to you and strongly encourage you to support the endeavours to implement the Uluru Statement from the Heart. Any speakers? Councillor Werner?
Yeah, I'd like to support this. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us to support this initiative. Again, I've got an extra point to add, if it's accepted, which reads that Council supports Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander calls to establish a Truth and Justice Commission and enactment of a national treaty and or treaties with First Nations people in this country.
I'd have to take that on notice because I'm not aware, you haven't raised that with me prior to today's meeting, so I don't have the background on what that is about, and I would like to consult before I put something like that in a mayoral minute. So on that basis, I can't accept it. Okay, all those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. That takes us to number 8, which is items by exception. So prior to the public forum, I will now proceed to deal with the remainder of the business on the paper by exception. So councillors and public forum items and the items where councillors have a pecuniary and or significant interest will be dealt with individually. So what I shall do is I will go through what has been pulled out already that we will be addressing, and then if there are any other items I shall go around to all the councillors. Okay, so 10.1 is being pulled out. 10.5, 10.11. In 11.1, we are pulling out 029. In 11.2, we are pulling out 035. And 036. In 11.3, we are pulling out 032 and 033. We are pulling out 11.5. We are pulling out the notices of motion and we are pulling out 14.1. Are there any other items that councillors would like to pull out? Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Muscat, Councillor Fadell, Councillor Jansen, Councillor Naji, Councillor Saranovsky, Councillor Souness, Councillor Werner.
Could we please have 10.14? And
Yeah. Councillor Werner, we cannot pull out questions. They are just responses to questions, so they're not reports as such. So
okay,
they're not up for discussion.
okay, thanks. Could we in 11.2, can we pull out CPE 22.038?
The Bayside Transport Strategy.
Yes.
Yep.
And could we also checking? I think that's it actually.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Councillor Wada. Councillor Barlow. Yes. That's the council expenses and facilities policy. Maybe just send that through. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillor Hannah. Councillor Douglas.
Can I please pull out 10.10 and 10.13?
10.10 is, yes, Russell. 10.13 is a response to a notice of motion. So I don't believe we can pull those out. So it's just a response, isn't it? Or is it a, you can? All right. It's a response to a notice of motion, not a question. Okay. Yep. Councillor McDougall. Councillor Cedric.
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right. All other items will be dealt with by one resolution. May I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Saranovsky, seconded Councillor Naji. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. This takes us to item 9, which is the public forum. We have 2 speakers. So the first item will be in relation to 10.1, which is the 21-22 audited general purpose financial statements. And we have online Karen Taylor, Audit Director, Audit Office of New South Wales. Thank you, Ms. Taylor, for joining us this evening. We appreciate you being here and speaking to our financial statements. So I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm hoping I can do this. Can you see slides?
Yes, we can see them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors, for inviting me to present the report on the conduct of the audit of Bayside Council. Am I coming through okay for hearing, everyone?
Yes, all fine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So before I get to the report on the conduct, I'll just briefly update you on the Auditor General's focus areas for the forward program. So her annual work program was released on the 24th of August this year. The central focus of the program is on integrity of systems and processes. There's audits to provide assurance over governance arrangements, including documentation and reporting of directions and decisions. There's a maintained focus on cybersecurity and also emergency events, as everyone well aware of the continual natural disasters that are happening across the states that are impacting on councils. The financial audits for the 30 June 2022 year, including Bayside's results, will be reported in the financial audit report to Parliament, which is due to be tabled around May 2023. There's about 60 councils who have extensions, so it's important to get as many of those results in that report, and and so it's a picture of the whole sector and not just a subset of that sector. There's also an audit on effectiveness of financial management and governance, which is going to be a deep dive on Mid Coast Council. And cybersecurity and local government is an audit that's not yet scoped. I'd also like to thank Bayside Council for being interviewed to provide council perspective to the building regulation combustible external cladding audit, which is was tabled in New South Wales Parliament in April 22. For the financial audit volume to Parliament, it basically summarises the results of all the audits for councils, any management letter themes, any high risk management letters, some focus on cybersecurity, information technology controls, and asset management and valuations. So on your report on the conduct, we've completed our audit of the general and special purpose financial statements and relevant schedules. Our clean audit opinion on those statements for the year ending 30th of June has been issued, which means the financial statements contain no material misstatements and present fairly. The Office of Local Government sets out the what needs to be covered in the report on the conduct. And in your financial statements in note G51, you have 6 key performance ratios which are required to be audited, and they sit within the general purpose financial statement, and they're also in our report on the conduct. The Office of Local Government sets the industry benchmarks for those ratios, and they haven't been updated for many years, so that there's been no adjustment to those ratios due to COVID or any other circumstances. So Bayside Council was successful in meeting 5 out of the 6 financial performance ratios in the 2022 financial statements. The one that Council missed was rates and annual charges outstanding percentage, which I have a separate slide on that. So this is your income statement showing that your rates and annual charges increased by 3.9 million. This is mainly due to domestic waste charges and the rate peg increase allowed by IPART of 2%. The grants and contributions revenue increased significantly this year. There was some non-cash contributions that Council received that are one-off items this year. 20.6 million for M6 from the M6 construction, some offset works that come back to Council after the completion of that project, and 34.9 million from Section 7.4 contributions under planning agreements related to affordable housing assets. So this flows through to your operating result for the year, but those capital items are then deducted to give you the net operating result before capital items. The other thing, I suppose, it's hard to compare the year on year because Bayside's had many one-off items in the last couple of years. So last year you had an impairment of a building of 10.9 million, and also a loss on disposal of some assets last year, which brought your profit down. And this year, the flow-on effect is that you had lower depreciation this year, which moves your operating result higher. So it's hard to compare year on year. So this slide shows your cash position, cash and investments. You have $465.4 million at the 30th of June 2022. This increase is primarily due to higher 14.6 million higher developer contributions. So with external restrictions, they're usually restricted due to the developer contributions, domestic waste management and infrastructure levy. So they're restricted by externally imposed requirements such as legislation and contracts, whereas the internal allocations are what council decides to allocate certain parcels of cash and investments to certain projects and other reasons, but you have more discretion over moving those allocations around. Due to these cash balances, they had a positive impact on your unrestricted current ratio, your debt service current ratio, and your cash expense current ratio, which all significantly exceeded the OLG benchmark. So this slide's showing your operating performance ratio. As you can see, it's 5.6% this year, and the benchmark is 0, break even. So you're now sitting above the benchmark. Many councils have struggled to meet this ratio in the current year. This is showing you how well you contained operating expenses within operating revenue. So those one-off items that I talked about, the capital grants and contributions for the M6 and the affordable housing that were received free of charge, are not reflected in this ratio. The one ratio that I mentioned that you did miss was the rates and annual charges ratio, which hasn't, as I said, hasn't been adjusted due to recent events. The benchmark is 5%, and metropolitan councils should be below, or according to OLG, should be less than 5%. But it is impacted if you have a high percentage of ratepayers that are pensioners, and councils' policy on, obviously having some leniency on pensioner ratepayers, and also during COVID, deferring and not chasing people through debt collection agencies, and having some empathy for those types of ratepayers. So you spent 26.4 million on renewing your assets, which was very comparable to the year before. The majority was building renewals, and the new assets, the 90.9 million, include the affordable housing and those other assets that came in through the capital grants and contributions. So overall, council has, at the 30th of June 2022, you had cash to meet debts as they fell due, and met 5 of the 6 audited ratios reported in the conduct of the audit. I'd like to thank council's finance team for their professionalism and cooperation during the conduct of the audit, and they met all the time frames set by Office of Local Government. And as I said, there's probably 60 councils that were not able to meet the time frames this year, so it's a good effort by Bayside Council to do so. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor, for that presentation. We've got an opportunity to ask some questions. Is there anyone that would like to ask any questions of Ms. Taylor? No, we've got no questions, so...
Oh, that's excellent.
Thank you very much for zooming in tonight and providing that presentation. We appreciate your time.
And thank you for allowing me to do it online as well. It saved a lot of time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good evening. Bye.
So we have a recommendation in front of us. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Fardell. Any speakers? Councillor Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I just wanted to congratulate the staff. From everyone in the City Performance Directorate, from the director and the previous director, who did a great job, and his shoes have been filled, no doubt, by a very able director as well, but all the people who are involved in this. What this story tells is one of really good relationships, not only internally with internal auditors, but with the Office of Local Government and with the Audit Office of New South Wales. Without transparent and open communication, without commitment to meeting deadlines and coming to work to get the job done, we wouldn't have achieved this result. As you heard, the only metric that we missed was basically rates that are in arrears. And the reason they're in arrears is because we are showing some empathy, I suppose, post-COVID, during and post-COVID, where we're not enforcing, not pushing these debts onto debt collectors and chasing our residents. And it's a real fair go approach. Everyone knows, all the ratepayers know if they're a little bit behind, and I'm sure that we do have a good hardship policy, and council can work through that. So had that policy been strictly enforced, which was not the right thing to do during this period, but if it was enforced, then I've no doubt we would have got 5 metrics out of 5. The staff and our systems and processes are more than capable of that. Just going back a little bit more with the grant fund, we can see that there was a huge increase in the contribution and grants funding, and again, that's about developing relationships and understanding what's going on in the community, looking for grants, securing those grants. With the affordable housing, that was working with a major developer, and that's been going on for a number of years and has only just come to fruition now. So without good people within council having these conversations and negotiating for the benefit of the community, we would not have this result. So if you can please, on behalf, I think I speak on behalf of the council, if you can pass on to the entire team in your next meeting or however you do it, our thanks, because it is a very, very good result. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrissey. Any further speakers? Councillor Barlow.
I'd just like to congratulate the staff on what a fantastic result, 3 years in a row, unqualified audit from where we started 5 years ago or 6 years ago to where we are today. It's fantastic. And I think everyone here should appreciate the hard work that staff have put in over time. And we had the Auditor General come the first time we did the qualified audit. So I congratulate them again, and I don't think many councils keep going. The staff have done a wonderful job.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Any other speakers? Councillor
Yeah,
Hannah.
just to follow on from that, this stuff's not easy, and I do have to congratulate the staff. So I echo Councillor Morrissey and also Councillor Barlow's remarks. It's extraordinarily complex. As you can see, there's a hell of a lot of facets to it. So to be able to pull this together and actually get this result, I think, we should be blowing our own trumpet. Apart from the difficulties with those restricted reserves, and as you can see, if you get rid of an asset, you're actually in a better position. So that's an absolute financial nonsense that needs to be fixed, because that discourages us providing stuff to our community. But congratulations to the staff. Really excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hannah. Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to echo the words of my fellow councillors. Congratulations, of course, to the finance staff. I feel as though we probably have the most battle-hardened finance department in all of local government in New South Wales. But congratulations to all staff, from the top right down to the bottom, in Bayside Council. As mentioned during the audit report, it's been very difficult over the last sort of couple of years to keep operational expenditure in check, and the fiscal responsibility demonstrated right throughout our organisation is on clear display there. This is something not many councils are achieving at the moment, so congratulations to everybody who worked at Bayside Council. It's a fantastic result.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Any further speakers? Excellent. I put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. This takes us to our second public speaker. So I'm going to, in a moment, invite Mr. Wilkes, a member of the Community Sporting Club, who will be speaking to motion 12.1, which is a notice of motion for the Cooks River cleanup. I believe Mr. Wilkes will be speaking online. And welcome, Mr. Wilkes. And you have 5 minutes in order to address council. Please go ahead. You're frozen. Can you hear me, Mr. Wilkes? I think it's from Mr. Wilkes' end, looks like. Yeah. Mr. Wilkes, if you can hear me, perhaps you can leave the meeting and try and come back in again, because I think you're... Just wait a moment. I think Mr. Soot's trying to make contact. Mr. Wilkes has left the meeting, and we'll see if he comes back in. Thank you.
Simon speaking.
Yes, Mr. Wilkes, I think we can hear you now. Sorry, you were frozen previously. You have 5 minutes to speak to item 12.1, Cooks River Cleanup, and I believe you are speaking for the recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your patience and understanding with the technology this evening. And thank you, councillors, for the opportunity to present. It is appreciated. So my name is Simon Wilkes, and with the River Canoe Club, we're based on the Cooks River, and we'll be speaking in favour of the recommendation that has been tabled by our Councillor Lee Douglas. The last few years, we've been working as a community organisation with the Inner West Council and Canterbury Bankstown on working on various clean-up events for the Cooks River. And we'd very much welcome the opportunity to have Bayside Council as part of the events too as well. It's a great opportunity for all the councils to work together as part of the broader Cooks River Alliance. Central Cooks River itself has been historically seen as one of the most polluted waterways in the country. It goes through quite a number of local government areas and is ultimately home to 10% of Sydney's population, with the litter ultimately washing unfortunately down predominantly into the Bayside local government area. The clean-up events have proven to be a great fun way to bring the community together. We're starting to see a real difference. The last few years, we've typically seen events with 100 to 400 people and resulting in about 20 plus tonnes being removed. This also involves various community groups and presents the opportunity for local businesses to be involved, as well as state agencies and federal government agencies. There's been an overwhelming groundswell of support, which has been fantastic to see. The cleanups also complement other litter prevention initiatives under the broader litter prevention strategy adopted by Council last year, really looking to set and achieve a 50% reduction in litter by 2024. Also aligned with Council's adopted water management strategy, sort of recommending involvement in community events. So happy to take any questions. Speak in favour of the recommendations. I'll often invite councillors to come out and join us out in the water. So on that basis, I speak in favour of the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkes, and thank you for your advocacy in relation to the Cooks River, an important environmental area in Sydney, and particularly in our LGA. And I'm very proud that Council is a member of the Cooks River Alliance and works as part of that group in order to ensure that we protect and look after the Cooks River. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, councillors.
Thank you. All right, so we'll deal with the item 12.1. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Jansen. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'll just speak briefly. I think Simon Wilkes summed it up. But basically what this motion is asking for is for Bayside Council to actively support the annual Cooks River cleanup with consideration for hosting activities for the event along the shores of the Cooks River within the Bayside local government area. The River Canoe Club at Tempe will be hosting its 5th annual Cooks River cleanup and paddle against plastic next year. The annual event takes tons of rubbish out of the Cooks River and helps the community care for the river and learn more about our impact on our natural environment. The Cooks River cleanup is already supported by Canterbury Bankstown Council and Inner West Council, as well as the Cooks River Alliance, Conservation Volunteers Australia and Georges River Keeper. Bayside Council will be warmly welcome to take part. Personally, I've discovered that kayaking up the Cooks River from Botany Bay, the section with the most plastic debris, is by far along the banks of the Cogra Golf Club, which is within Bayside local government area, as well as along Muddy Creek. The last event was 8th of May 2022, with the next Cooks River cleanup being planned for May 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Any other speakers? Councillor Jansen?
Look, I think this is a really important initiative, and particularly for those of us who've seen the Bow Miles documentary about kayaking the sickest urban river in Australia. I think this is very, very vital work. I would like it noted, though, that Council does support this initiative already through the Cooks River Alliance. So Council contributes, I believe, about $45,000 a year to be part of the Cooks River Alliance membership. So it really does important work with the River Canoe Club, but I do support additional or anything that Council can advocate for to clean up the river. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen. Any other speakers? I put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, declare that carried. Okay, councillors. That now takes us to item 10.5, which is the community engagement and communication strategy. So, do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Jansen, seconded Councillor Naji. Would you like to speak, Councillor Jansen?
Yeah, just a few comments around the strategy, because I'm aware that a soon-to-be big focus of Council will be customer experience. So I'd like to suggest that customer experience needs to be somehow embedded within the community engagement strategy. So whilst I recognise that community engagement and customer experience are different, they are symbiotic, because better customer experience leads to improved community engagement and vice versa. So if we can look at somehow embedding that in, I guess, at the top of the engagement strategy, and also possibly for the layperson, the strategy is quite sort of voluminous to read through. So I would suggest incorporating an infographic for residents on ways that they can engage with Council, just so it's a bit sort of more user-friendly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen. Did you want to add a number 4?
Yes, please. So that Council look at embedding customer experience within the community engagement strategy, and that Council incorporates an infographic that guides residents on ways to engage with Council.
You might just have to repeat that again.
So that would be that Council look at embedding customer experience within the community engagement strategy, and point 5, that Council incorporates an infographic that guides residents on ways to engage with Council.
just remove better out of number 4 because it's just about embedding customer experience, I believe. Okay. Any other speakers? No other speakers. I put the motion, all those with the amendments on the board in front of you. All those in favour say aye. Against, I declare it carried. This takes us to 10.6, which is the council's expenses and facilities policy. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Werner, seconded Councillor Saranowski. Would you like to speak, Councillor Werner?
I've written out what, one was a mistake that we've still got in travel insurance for overseas travel, which we don't have, and that was 7.4, so that needs to be changed. And I think it's 6.33, you've got the policy for laptops and that, and I just wanted to include a laptop with the same data as this whatever this thing's called, Surface Pro, because they're the same price, and I find this one very difficult to use. So that was to change that one, because I actually can't get into it at all now. So, and the only other one was, no, it's all right. And the other one was, I know that you've increased the Christmas cards, which is the same as Randwick, 300 for councillors and 500 for the mayor. I know the cards cost nothing, but it's the postage that costs money. We are going to have, assume an e-card, but my concern was that we had reduced it down to 100. Georges River is 200, so I was hoping that we could reduce it slightly, because the postage alone is the bit that's going to cost the money. Not the card, that might only be 5 cents, but it's the postage. I don't even know what it's going to be this year. Could be $1 a card. So I was just hoping that maybe the mayor has extra and the councillors only have 100, and the mayor has maybe 300. You can raise your eye. I mean, I know what Randwick had. I know it's Georges River had. I was just interested to see. So that was what I was moving, and just a correction for. We don't have overseas travel, so we don't need travel insurance for overseas travel. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Any further comments?
Can I just ask a question? Item 6.36, carer expenses, it's changed from just $150 per day to $150 per day by an accredited carer. Could I just have explained what that actually means as somebody who uses a babysitter that's a local babysitter? So occasionally to attend night meetings. I'm not sure how I would get access to an accredited carer for evening babysitting.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. I refer to the General Manager, please.
Through the Chair, this is meant to ensure that the quality of care that is being provided is through someone who has the appropriate skills to do that and will do it as a job. So it's not meant to fund, say, your partner looking after your children in a normal family setting. It's meant to be where you are employing someone who has the skills to deliver that particular function for you.
Thank you. Any other questions? So we have some from Councillor Barlow. We have delete travel insurance for overseas, include laptops with a SIM as an option to Surface Pro or data. And then there's the Christmas card reduction. I guess the question would be, so currently the policy says 300 and there's a suggestion to be to 200. Is that what you're suggesting, Councillor Barlow?
Well, originally the suggestion was 100, and that's what it had been till this time.
So
100, but I feel it's it's the postage that's costing the money, and it is a lot of money now. I don't even know how much the Christmas stamps are.
So I think,
It's only 60.
so
That's still 600.
I'm not sure that, you know, that many councillors send post. No, so I don't think it's anyone nears their limit. But so we have a resolution for 200 cards in front of us. Are there any?
Excuse me,
She doesn't want 'em.
I don't want them because, and it's very funny, it's just being a little bit, I don't care what you say, but I actually don't want them. I'm just saying in a responsible way, it is a lot of money, and I was feeling that we had gone down to 100. I believe the mayor should have more. Councillors, I know councillors that didn't even send any when they got them. Quite a few years ago, they had them sitting in their lockers till after Christmas. So I was just being practical. Call me.
No, it's
maybe
okay.
just-
Thank you, Councillor Barlow.
I'm that's
You're-
what it's a very.
So,
I'll just tell you, I'm happy to support 200. Don't take any of my facial expressions the wrong way, Councillor Barlow. I'm happy. I think it's quite pragmatic. We're trying to tighten our belts as a council. It's 60 cents. Everyone's 200. It's a maximum of 200. If you send two, that's okay. If you send 200, that's okay. So I've got no problem with those changes at all.
and what we can do is ask how many cards councillors would like. So you don't which we do, you don't automatically get 200. You think about how many you would actually send and then provide that. All right, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any other speakers? Okay, all in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Thank you. All right, this takes us to item 10.10. This is a petition regarding road surface noise in Russell Avenue, Dolls Point. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor McDougall. Would you like to speak?
Mine was really the reason to pull this out was to ask the question around clearly the community are continuing to seek that we do this work earlier to resurface the road. From reading the report, it looks like we haven't got it budgeted for the 22-23 financial year, and that we can't fit it in. The assumption within the report is that we can't fit it into this year's budget. I just wanted to have clarity that that is in fact the reason why we're not doing it sooner, and also is if we can't do it sooner in the 22-23 year, can we at least make a decision to make it early in the 23-24 year so that the residents know that it's coming as soon as possible?
Thank you, Councillor Douglas.
Through the chair, your interpretation, Councillor Douglas, is correct. The funding that we have available and the resources that we have to deliver the road resurfacing program has already been established for this year. But we can certainly take on board your comments that we prioritise for the 23-24 year, so that it effectively is about 7 months away before we could start rolling out that next round of programs.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Hannah.
Just a question, Madam Mayor. So are we discussing using the new rubberised surface here, or just a standard resheeting? Because I did see something in the press recently that the facility, I think it might have been down in Victoria, was having trouble getting materials making it. I think it was to do with the plastic bag recycling being shut down, and therefore the facility that makes the product, which has got the rubber and plastics in it, is having difficulty producing it. So just a question, are we suggesting that we're going to use that material here? I know we talked about a trial somewhere, or maybe through you, maybe the Director
Certainly, I
City
can ask,
presentation. I don't want to put him on the spot, but
Mr.
I just-
Clissold?
yeah.
Can I please?
through you.
Can I ask you to stand, please? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. we've got, it depends on the bonding agent that they're using, but we have, in February to March this year, we've got a section of road that we're going to trial the rubber pavement on to see how it's going. But yeah, there's been a bit of a hold up with getting the emulsion for the bonding agent. That's all that's been happening. So we will be trying it, but we want to trial it first on the main road to see how it performs before extending it on throughout our reshedding program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clissold.
This motion, I think I did read in the petition, they were suggesting they wanted the new product, but that's not what we're bringing forward here. We're bringing forward the standard smoother finish.
Can I just add to what the director has said? I think the trial will commence and we've got that first quarter to have a look at its performance. I think it will take longer than to the beginning of next financial year to really make an assessment of the success of that trial. So I think at this point we'd be saying it'll be part of our standard reshedding program. If something amazing happens in the meantime and we can use a new product, we certainly would. But we don't want to race in and do something and then find we have to redo it if there isn't the success factor in the trial that we're hoping there will be.
Thank you, General Manager. Are there any other speakers? All right, I put the motion. All those in... will be yes. Thank you. Okay, we have a updated motion. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. We are now on item 10.11. This is the planning proposal for 187 Slade Road, Bexley North, which is the rezoning review and request to accept the role of planning proposal authority. I have leaving the chamber, Councillor Awada, Councillor McDougall and Councillor Naji. Okay, we have a motion in front of us. Is there a mover?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'll move
Councillor
the...
Saranowski. Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Hannah. Please
I'll be
go
very
ahead.
brief. Unfortunately, the decision-making process has been taken away, but hopefully maybe with the change of government in March, we'll have an opportunity maybe for the council and the community to have a say in terms of planning proposal. But at least we get this process, the DA, so and the planning proposal and the DA. So I'm sure that through you to the Director of City Services Futures that they take on board the comments that are made by the community and by this council on the floor. So reluctantly, we have no choice but to accept the offer.
Thank you, Councillor Saranowski. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Hannah?
Yeah, just rise to support those comments. This is something, there's very little that we're left with, very little. This is one part of the process where we can actually have some influence. So I definitely think that we should formally accept the role as the PPA for this planning proposal. And I'm just assuming that if we do that, we then get the opportunity, and maybe we can just get this clarified, we then get the opportunity to determine the planning proposal. Is that correct?
I will ask the Director to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. That's correct. So Council would run the exhibition, then Council would meet to consider submissions that were made during that period and determine whether the proposal proceeds any further from that point.
Thank you. Any other speakers? We have the motion in front of us. All in favour say aye. Against, I declare that carried. We'll just wait for councillors to return to the chamber and we will be dealing with 10.13. Thank you. Item 10.13, this was a response to a notice of motion for safer lighting at the West Botany Street Skate Park. And we have the motion is on the board. So do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Douglas. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fardell. Councillor Douglas.
Thank you for bringing this back and the response from the council staff to the motion earlier this year. I believe it was in April. I have a question around this. It says that if council wishes to pursue skate park lighting at this site, a project budget would need to be established to undertake a feasibility investigations and community consultation. It wasn't clear to me from reading the report whether this is actually an action, or do we as councillors need to take further action in order to get a project budget established?
I'll ask the General Manager to respond.
Through the chair, the recommendation here does not establish a project budget or any further work. So what it's actually recommending is that should council wish to prioritise this as a project in the next round of budget discussions, which you'll enter into early in 2023, you would need to ensure that this is on the City Capital Projects program. So it's providing you with the advice as to how to go about it, but it's not at this point. It's not actually including it on the program. It requires council to actually consider this along with all the other projects proposed for the next round of city works.
Thank you, General Manager. Okay, no further speakers. All right, put the motion. All in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Okay, this now takes us to 11.1, which is the minutes of the committee meeting of city services. So it's item 029, which was around the future management models for Angelo Anestis Aquatic Centre and Botany Aquatic Centre. So this being pulled out because Councillor Hannah has declared a non-significant non-pecuniary interest. I do remind councillors that we are also pulling out the at 14.1, which was a report which was provided following the committee meeting where this was undertaken. So can I perhaps suggest to councillors that we deal with the item in 14.1? Thank you, moves. Councillor Saranowski, seconded Councillor Awada. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. All right, item 11.2, the minutes of the City Planning and Environment Committee meeting. The first item is CPE 22035, which is the post-exhibition report, Bayside Draft Development Control Plan 2022. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Saranowski. Would you like to speak?
Sure. I just have a proposed amendment to the car parking rates. Have you got that on the? And there's a little bit of complexity in it. So just so everybody knows that there's some standard car parking rates that have been around for a long, long time, and I think all of us, well, I certainly do, every time there's a new residential multi-unit dwelling or dual lock or something like that, the car parking on the street gets used up. So what I'm proposing is to increase the minimum requirements for car parking across the different types of developments. So there it is. So for a dwelling house dual lock, the car parking is 2 per dwelling. A secondary dwelling is one space per dwelling. Currently that's 0. So it means that someone can put a granny flat in. They might already have a 3 or 4 bedroom house. They put a 2-bedroom granny flat in and no parking is required. So this seeks to address that by at least one. The multi-dwelling housing, 1 space per dwelling with 2 bedrooms and 2 spaces, 3 bedrooms or more. But the bigger one is the residential flat buildings. Sorry, is that 1 space per dwelling with 1 bedroom? No, one space per dwelling with 1 bedroom. Oh, sorry, 2. Is that how it's?
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at multi-dwelling house. It's not consistent. It should be one. It should mirror that. One space per dwelling with one bedroom or less. Should be consistent across multi-unit dwelling and residential flat buildings. Sorry. There we go. So those should both be the same. So multi-dwelling housing, one, it's not what I sent. More. So for multi.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I know.
multi and the box that's not highlighted has to be the same as the other box. Resident multi-dwelling housing has to be the same as the one. Just copy and paste the second part of it. Sorry guys, it was sent through, but in summary, this is a proposed change. Dwelling house dual occupancy semi-detached, 2 spaces per dwelling. Currently that's only one. For some with a 2 3-bedroom townhouse with only 1 space per dwelling. We're proposing to increase that to 2. The secondary dwelling, which is the granny flat or the light, is 1 space. Currently it's 0. There's no requirement. Multi-dwelling, which is your units, 1 space per 1 bedroom or less, which is the studio. 2 spaces for 2 bedrooms or more. So it's 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, at least 2 spaces. Business space is unchanged, and the same with residential flat buildings and shop housing. Now, just scroll down a little bit more. There are some state government provisions that will override this anyway. So the site's located within 800 metres of a railway station. It's actually stipulated in it's a 2002 guide actually from the RCA, saying that will override things, and that means that for something like that, the planning proposals before a few minutes ago, this will not apply. Some apartments don't even need parking. There's different algorithms that apply to that. But anything outside those zones, this will apply. And typically it would be where there's a consolidation of a site where a developer buys a number of dwellings or acquires a number of dwellings. That's closer in the residential zone. Seeks a planning proposal. So it's in those areas where we struggle most with parking, and by requiring more spaces that can get more cars off the street, allow for EV charging, etc., because it's going to be more room for that to happen in individual owned car spaces, and reduce the number of cars parked on the street so that the existing residents maintain the status quo. If this is we've got 3 there, so if this is endorsed by the council tonight, you have to read it again, just for transparency and completeness to the community, and that will come back. So there won't be any impact of, it's not a delay, it's an amendment to what's already there. We re-exhibit the plan with this, just to highlight that this has changed. We can provide feedback, and then that will come back to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Morrissey. Any other speakers? Councillor Nargi?
Madam Mayor, through you to the Director of Planning, because I'm not a planner, as you know. I just want to, from an expert point of view, would that, if this is adopted through council, would it have an impact on developments or developments application and so on? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barber.
Through you, Chair. There are a number of schools of thought on parking. Some councils and government authorities say that we should have less to discourage car use, and some organisations take a different view to say that people will have cars or want to own cars, and therefore they should be accommodated so we don't have the parking problems that Councillor Morrissey was referring to. In terms of providing more and the impact on development, there's a cost implication. A lot of parking for the more dense development is in basements, so it costs money to provide, to dig a deeper hole, as it were. So that's one potential implication, and that affects the value of the properties as well in terms of the price that they're sold for. So that's one impact. But other than that, it's largely a sort of philosophical argument, if you like, as to whether you think more parking will encourage more car use, and whether that's a bad thing, or less car parking might discourage car use. But there's different schools of thought on that.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Any other speakers?
I support the issue, especially secondary dwellings. I'm sorry that they all have a car or more, and you can see where there's some that the street is now getting fuller, but I actually want to move another part of an amendment saying it has to go on exhibition, and it was 3.5.1. So I didn't send it to you, but it's to do with, at the moment, we do not allow any building forward of the building alignment, as in a carport. Now, I have so many carports forward of the building alignment built to complement the house. Some don't, and so I was moving. It's got to minimise the visual appearance of on-site parking on the streetscape, but you can actually make it complement the house and the streetscape. So I want to move that thing. Carports are permissible front of the building alignment, subject to, I think it would have to be a DA approval, because it's got to have, it's got to comply with certain guidelines, and the structure must be sympathetic to the building and the streetscape. That is, say it's got a pitched roof. I've got one photo on my phone of one that when our council actually allowed them, which I don't know when it was, it's prior to, could be 20 years ago. We had one in Henry Street that won a House of the Year award, carports. So we did have a policy at some stage. I know one in Willison Road that I actually did a lot of work with him, with the council, to get this one through, and it's absolutely brilliant. Follows the cable, does everything. So I'd like, the wording is only very rough, but I feel that if we've got one thing on exhibition, this could be on exhibition. Because once again, it will take cars off the street. And if you're going to have an EV car, you've got to have somewhere where you might you can have the car up further, and you can have your car under cover. So, and hopefully people will support that as well.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow.
Madam Mayor, if I make a suggestion, if we can, I second the motion and support the idea, but if we could do, in addition to the exhibition, pick 10 planners that Bayside Council deals with, and 10 architects that deal with Bayside Council. The reason I say that is that way it gives them a feeling of what direction this council is going through. Making aware that the exhibition, we're advertising, and try and get input from there, because I support what Councillor Morrissey is saying, that our biggest problem at the moment is when you allow development, it's no one has one car. No one. You look at Brighton. Who would have predicted 30 years ago that the average family is going to have 2 or 3 cars? You can't park anywhere in Brighton. So that's why I think, providing Councillor Morrison's agreement, that we send the message to the planners and the top 10 architects. So if we've got a list, to notify them and say this is where Bayside Council is going down that path, that sort of prepares them for, so there's no shock when they do the drawings. They're aware of the direction that the Bayside Council is going to have. It is a difficult thing, because down at Willard Creek, where Aldi is, one of the basement parking has never been used. Never. Because no one owns a car. They catch the train, off they go. And the applicant spoke to me last year and said, I want to do a parking, one of those park and drives, but it's not zoned, can't do it. But the basement car park is actually, never has any cars in there, because you're right next to the railway station, and most of the occupiers are students or and they just catch the train, or they go to Aldi, or they go to the Woolworths. So if we can add that, Councillor Morrissey, if you want to.
That's fine. So perhaps that part of 3 or 3A that through the director of City Futures, that the updated re-exhibition, the updated DCP is distributed to up to 20 stakeholders during to ask for their comment during the feedback during the exhibition period.
Thank you. Can I just ask the director for a comment in relation to the carports, please? And
Generally speaking, most councils don't tend to allow them in the front of buildings, just because of the impact they have on the streetscape. They can be designed well, as Councillor Barlow said, to sort of fit in, but the front setback, the purpose of it is really to provide that sort of separation from the street and some sort of visual relief. And if you put a structure in there, then it sort of is counter to that purpose, I guess. So some other things, I guess, that to think about are if a dwelling doesn't have off-street parking at the moment, there's parking on the street available. If you create a carport, then it obviously needs a crossover to get into, and so at least one space on the street is lost to accommodate that. So there's an offset there in terms of public parking versus private parking. And the extra driveways also take out some of the opportunity to have tree planting in the public domain and also on private property, which is another reason why we have front setbacks. So it's a matter of balancing all those things, I guess, in terms of priority, whether it's parking or some of the other considerations that are there. We could come up with some controls to go in the DCP that try to manage all those different aspects. Perhaps that require some form of setback or some minimum landscaped area or those kinds of things to get a balance in there. But I think you would find that majority of councils in a similar context to ours don't allow them for those reasons. But it's open to council to come up with its own scheme to manage them.
Make a comment then that all the ones I've seen in my area, I won't say any other area, they always had a driveway. They just wanted their car off the street, undercover, and they have complemented their house. So they haven't actually taken parking because they usually have a driveway and they're just building a structure to complement. And a lot of them, they're actually brilliant. So, and we did actually approve them. I don't know how long ago, but it was a long time ago, and I can take photo. I've got one on the phone now, but there's more I can show you.
any other speakers? Councillor McDougall?
Can I just suggest, and I agree with Councillor Barlow, but further to what the director said, maybe it would be best if we came up with some wording to include in the DCP. I mean, I feel like this is a bit vague, so, you know, it's very hard to enforce things that aren't specific. So maybe what the recommendation should be is that the officers come up with some wording for circulation back to, because this has to go back out on exhibition and so on, and it should be specific when it goes out on exhibition. So maybe if this can be to circulate some wording prior to the exhibition, and I'm sure we can, I'm sure the officers will do a good job coming up with that to the spirit of the motion, and we can all agree on that. Well, I feel like if that was in the DCP, then we'd lose a lot of control. I think it should be a bit more specific.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. That sounds like a good compromise. You comfortable with that, Councillor Barlow? We could always bring that back. We've got an extraordinary meeting on the 7th of December, so we could bring it back then, and before that it goes out for exhibition. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Hannah?
Yeah, I just wanted to support both Councillor Morrissey and Councillor Barlow's suggestions here. I think they're both good. I'm now at the point where I'm starting to trip over extension cords that are charging electric vehicles.
Oh.
They're running across footpaths. So anything that actually gets the vehicles off the street I used to live in a very quiet street. I now think that I'm living in the inner west as far as parking's concerned. So I think we really do need to start providing more parking where we can off the street and encourage residents to use it, because I see new developments, dulux with double garages that are used as living rooms. And a lot of those houses have got 5, 6 vehicles associated with them. They're all going onto the street. So I think we really need to try and crank this up as best we can. I know there's a move towards, people moving away from using cars and everything else. Tell that to the people that won't get out of their cars and go through McDonald's drive-through, right, and bank up out onto the street. Just tell that to them. So I think this is very practical, and we really need to push this as hard as we can. Thanks. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Hannah. Any other speakers? Councillor Werner.
Thank you. Yes, this is probably more of a comment on the DCP, but the design review panel recommended that a percentage for tree canopy be included in the DCP. And council has not adopted this advice, and the reason for that's given is that we don't have adequate data, research or scenario modelling available to include a control that will be successful with a high degree of confidence. An environment strategy is being prepared that might assist with this and could inform a future DCP amendment. Now, I had a look at the Greater Cities Commission, and their objective 30 is to increase urban tree canopy. That on their website, they say that urban tree canopy also has environmental benefits, and it provides habitat and helps protect the health of waterways, removes fine particles from the air to improve air quality. Recent research shows that urban tree canopy is greatly valued by communities. A 10% increase in street tree canopy can increase the value of properties by an average of $50,000. So there's a lot more, obviously, about tree canopy on their website, and it seems to me it's a really important aspect of the DCP. So, but I do accept that council might need to do a bit more research and modelling on that. And I'm wondering if the wording could maybe be made a little bit more sort of direct, that this is something that the environment strategy can include. I don't know, maybe a question to the director through the chair. Is this something that we can include in the DCP, or as maybe as a note in the DCP? Mr. Barber?
Through you, Chair. Yeah, there's a number of things council are doing in the tree canopy space, and it is something that's very important. A lot of it is to do with planting on public land. So we have quite a few grants running, and there's a lot of trees being planted at the moment. The DCP is talking about private property. We do require trees to be planted in the front and back of new dwellings that are built. There's landscape area requirements and a bunch of other things in there. What the panel had asked for was to consider putting in a percentage of tree canopy that would be provided on every property, like individually. And that's because every case is a little bit different. It's difficult to apply a blanket control and be confident that it's not going to be onerous or underachieve, I guess. So we were a bit reluctant to include another control amongst all the other ones that we already have that we weren't confident would necessarily work. There is a tree planting master plan that we have a grant for that we're working on. There is the environment strategy. So there's a number of things going on. And yeah, we could certainly work towards control like that. But at this point in time, we just weren't confident that we had all the pieces of the puzzle to pick a number and be sure that it would work and give the outcome that we were looking for. But it's certainly something that's on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Any other speakers? I put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Oh no, sorry, this is a planning matter, so we need a division. So if we can get the division table up, please, and I shall go around the chamber. Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Muscat. Councillor Fardell. Councillor Jansen. Councillor Naji. Councillor Saranowski. Councillor Sunis. Councillor Werner. Councillor Wada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Hannah. Councillor Douglas. Councillor McDougall. Councillor Cedric.
4.
Councillor Curry, 4. I declare it unanimously carried. Thank you, councillors. I'm going to suggest to councillors that we have a 5-minute recess. So we'll just wait till we turn off. All right, thank you, councillors. We are now on item 11.2, CPE 22.036, which is the post-exhibition report, planning proposal and development control plan for the Rockdale Interchange Precinct. So Councillor McDougall and Councillor Saranowski have left. So does this go to regional planning? It's the one for Rockdale Interchange? No. No.
It's going back to, it doesn't go back to panel? No.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so this, do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Wada, seconded. Councillor Fardell. Any speakers? Okay, this is a planning matter, so we need a division. So we'll get the division table up. Councillor Souness, we're dealing with 036 post-exhibition report planning proposal for Rockdale Interchange. All right, we'll go around the room. Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Muscat, Councillor Fidel, Councillor Jansen, Councillor Naji, Councillor Souness, Councillor Werner, Councillor Wada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Hannah, Councillor Douglas, Councillor Cedrak.
Yes. 4.
And
Four,
I'm
four.
for. I declare it carried. All right. Could you please invite Councillor McDougall and Saranowski back to the chamber? Thank you. We are now on item CPE 22.038, the Bayside Transport Strategy and Bike Plan Action Plan. Do we have a mover? Moved Councillor Werner, second Councillor Douglas. Speakers?
Yes, please. I just wanted to say that it's really wonderful to see a bike plan and an action plan like this, and just wanted to thank the staff and for working on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Any other speakers? Okay, all those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. 11.3, the minutes of the City Works and Assets Committee meeting. So we have the CWA 22.32, which is the Brighton Baths amenity building. So I'm leaving the chamber. Yes, Councillor Morrissey, can you please take over? And other councillors have declared an interest but may not be leaving the room.
Thank you, councillors. We're on item CWA 22.032 Brighton Bars Amenities Building. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor McDougall, seconded Councillor Jansen. We have a recommendation before us that's withheld and received and noted. Any speakers? All those in favour say aye. Against, no. Declare that carried. Thank you. And recall councillors who's going, Curry and Sarabanovsky and Douglas. And I'll vacate. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Morrissey. All right, the next item is CWA 22.033, which is a proposed recategorisation of 72 Laycock Street, Bexley North. Anyone leaving the chamber for this? No? Okay, moved councillor McDougall, seconded councillor...
I'll second it.
Thanks, councillor Cedric. And would you like to speak?
I'd just like to change the recommendation back to the officer's original recommendation rather than the committee recommendation. Reserve my right to write a reply, but I think the officer's recommendation as it stood is the sensible way to move forward on this.
Thank you, councillor McDougall. Are there any other speakers? So do you second that, councillor Cedric? Councillor Cedric?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion to revert back to the original officer recommendation. Are there any further speakers?
I just want to speak against this change. I mean, we had quite a long discussion at the committee meeting around why we councillors felt we needed a briefing on the background of the issue. Many of us are new councillors and we don't know the full history of this site. What we were asking for is a briefing so that we could find out the fiscal and legal ramifications if we did not accept this change. The reason we were considering not accepting the change was because I think it's 97% of the community actually were asking us not to accept the change from a sporting ground use to a general community use, which would take away green space in the area. So we were trying to listen to the community by taking on this and fully considering it and asking for that extra information from council staff around the implications of the legal and fiscal ramifications of us making this decision.
Thank you, councillor Douglas. Are there any other speakers?
Madam Mayor. Just again, lately I've been a lot of confused person. Just going back about recategorizations, didn't we go through that in the first DA where everyone blamed the state minister for taking long? And now we're doing a different, I mean, maybe the director of planning, because I'm really confused a bit. Is this the second time we going through the...
Are you happy to respond? Yes. I'll ask the general manager to respond.
So through the chair, councillors, I think what councillor Naji is referring to actually relates to ministerial approval for length of lease. So that was part of the thing, or it may have been community and operational land. This is actually, this current matter that you are considering is very specific to decisions that council has made previously in accepting a concept plan, in entering into an agreement for lease and allowing a DA to be submitted that has a particular arrangement on the open space. So it's very clearly, it's not about the terms of the lease or any of the earlier agreements that we were talking about. This is about how the 4 segments of the club site would be used. And you've already made some decisions in relation to this. You've already said it's consistent with the concept plan, the DA, put it out on exhibition. It's been out on exhibition. Yes, some feedback has come back, largely around things that will be dealt with in the development application process. And this is really finalising that step to harmonise and ensure that we're consistent with earlier decisions that you have made.
Thank you, General Manager. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Hannah?
Yeah, I just rise to say that I feel very uncomfortable about this also. I do remember this when I was on council last time around the start of this process, but it seems to me that this has morphed into something different to what was originally went out to tender. And I've got very serious concerns about that. So if this goes through in its current form, I won't be able to support it in this manner, which is why I was keen to have this go to an information session and go right back and look at the full history and how this has morphed into this where we are now. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hannah. Councillor Morrissey?
I rise to support the amendment or the motion before us, excuse me, by Councillor McDougall and Cedric. And given that there's been 2 speakers against, I now move that this motion be put. Have a seconder for that, please.
Thank you. There's a motion
you.
that the motion be put. Seconded,
Hang
Councillor
on,
Jansen.
right, excuse me. Sorry, that's all right, you can have the motion be put, you've got to vote on it. You're
Yes.
stifling debate and you won't be.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. So a motion's been put that we,
It'll be interesting.
so at the moment, one moment, please. What is before us at the moment is a procedural motion by Councillor Morrissey that we deal with the motion because we've had 2 speakers for and 2 speakers against. All in favour say aye. Against, I declare that carried.
Sorry, point of order.
Excuse me, yes.
The motion must be put. So we have to, that's it.
Excuse me,
Sorry.
Councillor Douglas, sit down, please. You do not have the floor, Councillor Douglas. Thank you. Councillor Morrissey has put the motion. We will now deal with the motion before us. So the motion before us, the ayes.
Madam
Sorry.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
No, I will
Was
sit
there
down.
2 for?
I will
Because I only
explain.
remember 1 speaking for.
I spoke for it. Thank you.
No, there was 2 against, but I don't know who.
Thank you,
anyone
councillors. We have a motion, a procedural motion. We have, it's been put. All in favour say aye. Against? I declare it carried. Division has been called. We'll go round the room. The motion's the original motion. The officer recommendation. Can we just move the box for a moment to put the
Could we just
original
have some clarity?
recommendation?
Is this a division on the procedural motion?
Correct.
Or yeah.
Can we just drop the actual motion down so that we can, so councillors can see it, please? Thank you. There's the motion.
We're putting the motion. It's not on the procedural motion. We are putting the motion. Not on the procedural motion. That must be put.
Can we not have a division on the procedural motion because it was not clear that everybody voted for what the numbers were on the procedural motion?
Okay, for clarity, Councillor McDougall spoke for the motion. Because he put it up there, it was seconded by Councillor Cedric. I rose, I said I support the motion. We've had Councillor Douglas speak against, and we've had Councillor Hannah speak against. That's 2 and 2. Procedurally, I've said we must put by procedural motion, that the motion be put, and the chair must do that.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a new councillor still, so I'm just asking, when you put that procedural motion and then the mayor called for a vote for and against, it was not clear to me that there was the numbers to carry it for. That's why I'm asking if we could have a division, please, on the procedural motion, so we can please be clear on who's voting for and against the procedural motion.
Sorry. The motion must be put. The code of meeting practice says if there's 2 for and against,
The motion
and
must be
someone
put.
calls a point of order that the motion be put, it must be put. There's no votes on that. It must be put.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Morrissey, for clarifying that. So therefore, we have the original motion, which was the officer recommendation in front of us. And so we will now be voting on that motion, which is the original one you can see on the screen. So all those in favour say aye. Against? Declare it carried. Division? Okay, Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Muscat. Councillor Bardell. Councillor Jansen. Councillor Naji. Councillor Saranoski. Councillor Souness. Councillor Werner. Councillor Awada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Hannah. Councillor Douglas. Councillor McDougall. Councillor Sedrat.
For.
I'm for. So there's one abstain, so I have the casting vote. Therefore, I declare it carried. Is it? Was it? Okay. 8-6. All right. I declare that carried. All right, councillors. This now takes us to 11.4, which is 11.5, which is the minutes of the Strategic Land and Property Working Group. I think. Why did we pull that, councillor? Did anyone want to speak to that? Councillor Saranoski, did you ask for 11.5 to come out, which was the minutes of the Strategic Land and Property Working Group? No? Yeah, he did. Yeah, oh, you declared an interest? All right, we'll deal with that matter. Are you leaving the chamber? Yeah. It's just you're the chair. Mine the chair. Okay. All right. So do I have a mover and the move Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Wada. Any speakers? It's just the minutes with a declaration. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Please invite Councillor Saranoski back into the chamber. We'll just give Councillor Saranoski a moment. No, we're not pulling that one. Thank you, Councillor Saranoski. All right, we're up to notices of motion. So, no, we're not dealing with that item. So we've dealt with 12.1. We're now dealing with 12.2. We have a notice of motion about the public art policy. Mover, Councillor Douglas, seconded. Do I have seconder? Thank you, Councillor Saranoski. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you.
This motion is that the council investigates and reports back on opportunities to instigate a public art initiative like the Inner West Council's successful growing Perfect Match public art program, which will include opportunities for funding such a program through grants. Just to outline, Bayside Council has recently seen positive community satisfaction from murals painted at the Streets Alive Festival and on the shipping container on the foreshore at Cooks Park. Our neighbouring council, the Inner West Council's Perfect Match program, basically it's a Cupid program for artists and property owners. So the property owners can nominate to have a mural painted on their building, and the artists can nominate to paint the mural. They're really high caliber artworks that are all scattered through the Inner West, to the point where the Inner West Council actually has walking maps that you can use as a tourist to go through and see this beautiful artwork. And it really enlivens the community space and beautifies it. I'm just going to read out a little bit of information from Jasmine Poole, who's a local artist, who was the one who actually proposed this idea to me before I even got elected to council. Jasmine says, "I was born in Bayside and grew up around the Rockdale area. As a long-time local, something I've always felt the area lacked was support for the arts and nurturing for the arts. I would like to see upcoming generations of local creatives feel inspired by their surrounds and recognise opportunity around them rather than having to seek it elsewhere. I always possessed an interest and enjoyment of the arts growing up, and now I work in a museum and practice as an artist myself. I've also studied community development, specifically in relation to how art can have a positive community impact. I believe bringing this program to Bayside and engaging locals to participate would not only build relationships and uplift the general well-being of the community, but also leave those visiting with a positive perception of the area. It is with hope that in the future Bayside could become a destination known for its creativity. We have so many talented locals, and with more creatives constantly moving here, there is no better time to nurture the arts than now." Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Councillor Jansen.
Look, councillors, why are we tying up staff resources on another report when we're already doing this as per our adopted resolution from April 2022 this year, which states as part of the public art policy adoption that a mural art program be investigated for the next financial year? We can't keep supporting new motions already in train. So whilst I do understand and appreciate Councillor Douglas's sentiment, I don't personally think Perfect Match I think it's a prescriptive as a mural art program for Bayside, which is completely different housing and business stock to the Inner West. So Bayside has already demonstrated partnerships with business and artists and has a number of iconic murals on private property that is public facing. So some of these murals were delivered well before the Perfect Match program was even birthed. They're that iconic. So the original resolution adopted in April is far more flexible and allows for a number of different ways for murals to be implemented across Bayside as per the objectives of the already adopted public art policy. Hence, I'm not supportive of this one tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen. Any other speakers? Councillor Werner.
I would like to support this motion. I think it's a wonderful idea. And I actually think that if staff have already worked on something similar, then, you know, then it's actually more easy for them to then write the report. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that they've already considered perhaps some of this, I don't know if they have or not, then, you know, they can just use all that work that they've already done and put it into this report. So I actually think that it's not any extra work if that's already been done. And it's such a wonderful program that I think, you know, and it doesn't say that people have to have murals. It's just for people who would like them. So, and it's matching people up who would like a mural and people who would like to paint a mural. So I think it's really not that much extra work for council because all the work is done by the, you know, private people who are part of that program. So I would like to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Any other speakers? Right of reply.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen. I take on board your advice. I haven't seen the public art mural program delivered yet to council. Do we have? So my understanding is that at the moment it's in consideration, and what I'm asking for is this to be considered as part of that, as a particularly successful program. I don't see that it is a massive burden on council's time to look into a specific local program that we know is very successful, that we could emulate, by basically cutting and pasting some of the work that a neighbouring council has done. So whether they decide to we decide to go forward with it or not, I think it's just worth us considering it as part of the palette of what we might do in our public art program.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. I think the point Councillor Jansen was making was around the fact that that's what we're looking at currently doing. Is the motion has asked for us to be guided by our public art policy to create something. So that's already a motion that was supported by council, and it's already happening regardless of what's embedded within it. So just so people recall that piece of work. All right, we have a motion in front of us. All those in favour say aye. Against? I declare that lost. Division's been called. All wait for the table. Councillor Morrissey, for or against? Councillor Muscat? Councillor Fadell? Councillor Jansen? Councillor Naji? Councillor Saranowski? Councillor Souness? Councillor Werner? Councillor Wada? Councillor Barlow? Councillor Hannah? Councillor Douglas? Councillor McDougall? Councillor Sedrak?
Against.
I declare that lost. For debate. All right, we're now dealing with 12.4, which is a notice of motion Bayside Library Services Strategy and Action Plan, moved by Councillor Jansen, seconded by Councillor Fadell. Would you like to speak to the motion?
This one's actually 12.3, and I
sorry.
just would like this one recorded as being renamed. I think this is the local history initiatives. So this essentially is about promoting, celebrating and accessing our extensive local history collections. So for a number of these measures to be considered as part of the Bayside Library Services strategy, and any expenditure required to be allocated in the next budgeting process. So this is really around our significant George Hannah Memorial Museum and the archive collections that are stored there. So a number of Botany Historical Trust members have talked about digitising those. It's also recognised in our delivery program and operational plan that digitising our library collections is the next stage in presenting an innovative service for our residents. So I think that with the number of exhibitions that are hosted at the George Hannah Memorial Museum, which is around 2 to 3 a year, I believe, it's not a big ask to digitise and celebrate those exhibitions and collections with the community. Thank you.
So did you say you were renaming it?
Yeah, local history initiatives.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other speakers?
Just to ask a comment, is this subject to it being included in the budget or considered in the budget?
So if you scroll down to number 4, please,
yeah.
Or 5, yeah, that points 1 to 4 above be incorporated as part of Bayside Library Services strategy with any expenditure required to be allocated in the next annual budgeting process.
If it's agreed. And we did have an exhibition there from the Rockdale Opera Company. So there is things that don't have to be digitised. There's plenty of things that don't have to be. So you've got to consider the costings.
Thank you, councillor Barlow. Any other speakers? All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. 12.4, notice of motion. Bayside Library Services Strategy and Action Plan moved. Councillor Jansen, seconded. Councillor Bardell. Councillor Jansen.
So this is another one to do with the library service, and it was recognised in at our council meeting in August that we would be presented with Bayside's first library services strategy and action plan. So this is just a acknowledgement that this is a significant piece of work, and it, I look forward to it coming before us by April. And as part of that, there are a number of initiatives mentioned in this notice of motion in improving our library service and visitation experience for our community. Also, as part of that new strategy, I've requested that we have a 6-monthly library report presented to council that just outlines some key trends, graphs, statistics about the library service, so we all have a better understanding of how important that service is to our residents and community. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Jansen. Any other speakers? I put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. 12.5, notice of motion, survey on culture, creativity and the arts in Bayside LGA, and note the comments in the report made by the General Manager that there is currently a survey that has been made public. Do I have a mover? Moved, councillor Werner. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bardell. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes, thank you. So this motion was developed with input from a local expert, Mrs. Anne Loxley from ACE, which is an organisation based in Parramatta, but Ms. Loxley is a resident of Bayside. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Ms. Loxley for leading an organisation that's actually received an FBI Sydney Music Arts and Culture Award for 2022. So ACE was recently awarded this award that by the highly regarded FBI Radio, and it's for the individual or collective who has made the biggest contribution to Sydney's cultural life. Some of the quotes here from the awards night is the 2022 SMAC of the Year recipient is a shining example of how when arts and community collide, they create an unstoppable force to be reckoned with. With programming that spans music, arts, literature and so much more, they have incubated and continue to nurture an enormous slew of local talent. So it's wonderful to have people like this in our community who can give us advice. This motion, I'll just, oh yeah, it's on the screen. So that council investigates conducting a short survey of Bayside residents to discover what kinds of cultural or creative events, facilities or opportunities the community would like to be provided or supported by council. And I do note the comment from the General Manager, but this motion is actually much broader than the one that's currently on the Have Your Say website, because the one that's on the Have Your Say website is specifically about the venue that council is currently developing. And whereas this motion is about a survey that could be much, much broader than providing venues or things that you know, there could be things that come out of this survey that we haven't even thought of. So, so yeah, I would like to, I hope you support the motion. Thank you.
Any other speakers?
Just make the comment that it's not, this is open until February, so possibly could just change the wording in that survey because it's already there. It's actually quite good. I'd forgotten about the building over there. I didn't think it, I remember we're going to pull one of them down, so possibly we just change the wording a little bit, because why have another survey when you're going to have one which is open till the 12th of February 2023? And now that they got some publicity, you might get people looking at it.
Yeah, thank you, councillor Barlow. Well, we've got the existing survey which could have that amendment. Are there any other speakers? Okay, I put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against?
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, can I just clarify? So are we saying that we've already got,
So we're dealing,
Yeah.
we're dealing with the motion in front of us. So the motion in front of us that council investigates conducting a short survey. So that's the motion that we're currently debating. So all those,
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I actually suggested that, well, maybe I should have made it as part two, that we included in the survey we've got till February 2023 with new wording to add, why do another one? That's all.
well, yeah, and so I said with that, we can just make that adjustment to the current survey. We can look at making that adjustment
As
to the
long as
current
it's
survey.
in there, but it's not in
Yeah.
that wording, that's
Yeah,
all.
we can do that. So at the moment, we're just dealing with the motion in front of us. I'm going to
Could I make a suggestion? Maybe councillor Werner may want to, is it possible for her to amend her motion to get that in there? Is that
So
possible?
I think though, the point is there's already a survey out. So there's a motion in front of us that's asked for a survey, but there's already an existing survey. So really, the motion is redundant. So so we're
Yes.
debating, so that's the motion in front of us, council. It's a redundant motion. I could, but I'm, giving the floor the opportunity
I just
to.
wanted to make sure though that if councillors are interested in this, what's been articulated in this motion specifically, and are happy to support it, but don't want to go over what's already been done by a survey, what I'm suggesting is if councillor Werner was permitted the opportunity to amend her motion to say, this is what I'm after to be included in the existing survey. That's my suggestion, because
Well, that's up to.
otherwise we're faced with, we either vote it down and then we take our chances with the survey that's there, or we have it amended and then we know that that can be included in the existing survey. So that's why I'm just suggesting councillor Werner, if she's permitted to move an amendment to it, it just might give it a little bit more flesh and
Can I just say, I actually don't actually agree with the statement that this is a complete mirroring of what's already being done, because what the survey is that the council is currently doing is looking at particularly the use of the Bryant Street and Rockdale venue. That's a one small venue within a very big LGA of 200,000 people. We're the very diverse community, both linguistically, culturally. We might find that people in Botany Ward want something different to what people in the Bexley area want, who want something different to Sans Souci. So I actually think this is a fabulous idea to do a survey, but I think we should include within a postcode or a suburb of the people's respondents, so that we can see what do our locals in the different parts of Bayside actually want.
Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With your indulgence, as we seem to be continuing to debate this motion, but just reading from the supporting statement, it says there are a number of councils with popular arts programs that residents benefit from. For example, the City of Parramatta Council organises the Parramatta Lanes Festival in October. It includes art and music. Liverpool City Council has the Casula Powerhouse. Northern Beaches Council has developed an award-winning strategy. Bankstown, there's a poetry slam in Bankstown. It's not a council event. I'd just like to say I think there's a glaring omission from this, which is the Bayside Arts Festival. It's a fantastic program run by our council staff. That was supported by council and established during the last term. There seems to be some assumption that we're some manner of cultural wasteland. The Bayside Arts Festival is a fantastic event. The Sculptures at Bayside Acquisitive Art Prize, I believe it's the second largest sculpture prize in New South Wales, which isn't bad for a suburban council. We have painting prizes, we have photography prizes. It's a really great event. So the sort of coming in and assuming that nothing's going on and asking a question like, would you like events? Well, we have a major annual event. You know, it'd be nice to see a bit more thought given to this about what we already do. And the fact that, you know, the hard work of council staff and the event they hold each year isn't acknowledged in this. I think I would just like to, you know, on my own behalf, thank the council staff for the great job they do in the art space and over the last 12 months as well, producing the art policy.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Councillor Jansen.
Thank you, Chair. Whilst we have another active survey for a cultural hub, like it's quite specifically targeted to that, obviously, I won't be supporting another survey that's not statistically valid, because I believe as part of our community strategic plan and delivery program and operational plan, there is statistically valid surveying conducted by a professional that is then that information. We have seen some of those questions they ask about cultural events, the types of activities we need to see. That information is then taken and embedded across different actions in the Depop. We need to look at this more holistically. So doing an arts and culture specific survey now, like I actually have some issues with some of the questions. I don't believe we would get statistically valid replies from that. So I just wonder what the outcome of this will be when that surveying has just been conducted 2 years ago and we have another survey out right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen. Are there any other speakers before right of reply? No speakers. Councillor Werner.
Thank
right of
you.
reply.
Well, there seems to be a bit of confusion about a few things with this motion. First of all, I do agree that Bayside Council has a wonderful arts program, and this is not suggesting that we don't. This is for Bayside to be a leader in the field, and we have people living in Bayside who are winning awards, who are doing amazing work, and I think it's really worthwhile to take their advice. Now, I do accept that there is currently a survey. It's much more focused than what I'm suggesting because it's about a specific venue. So what I would accept is, because there's currently no date in that motion, we could amend the motion to say that this is a survey that's done later, maybe in 2024, or, you know, either that or that the current survey has some more broader questions. The other thing I'd like to say is that I have had a look at the survey that was done previously as part of the community strategic plan, and I didn't see anywhere in that survey specific questions about what people's own creative practice is. So this is something that I think is really important to know. And it's not just about people's work, you know, people who do creative work, but it's also people's hobbies. So this is about the creativity of all our residents and how council can support creativity, whether it's a hobby, whether it's, you know, professional, maybe it's something in between, if it's a side hustle, whatever. So I would like, I think what I will do is I'll take Councillor Hannah's suggestion and amend it so that the survey that's currently on exhibition includes more questions that are broader about not just that venue, but people's creative practice in general. So that we're not redoing it. I think that is a really good idea. And thank you for the suggestion, Councillor Barlow.
The only consideration there is it's a live survey, so anyone that's completed the survey, the data is going to be skewed because you're adding on different things. Can I make a suggestion, Councillor Werner? As part of a previous resolution of this council, we will be doing a number of community forums in 2023 around different issues, and one of those was arts and culture, where people are surveyed out. We're not getting good response rates. You saw the response rate to the survey on the community engagement strategy, because it's so the opportunity then when we hold the arts and culture forum, where we can invite people who are our great artists in the community or have an interest, our different youth, and capture those ideas in a forum like that, where then we can further enhance the brilliant work that's already been undertaking in the arts and crafts space.
That's only asking certain people who turn up to the forum rather than giving us an overview of what our residents are doing in their own creative practice, though.
You've amended it there. Is there a seconder? Okay, seconding Councillor Hannah. All right, so we have
I've just read that. It says that council includes in the 2023 survey. So aren't we including it in the current survey? I know it will. It will make the data that's been collected up until now separate and different to the data that's collected after the survey's changed. So
Can I make a suggestion? It's either Councillor Warner brings that back in 2023 after this survey is complete, or we have to vote of it. I mean, listening to the debate, I'm not able to support it because it's just duplicating what we're already doing. So, and also, I mean, I'm happy to include it, but the problem is it's not practical because the survey has just been out there. You can't just change questions halfway through the survey. So maybe that's something, I mean, happy to support it, but it's not going to work.
Thank you, Councillor White.
Okay, then maybe let's change it back to the original.
Okay, so the original.
That council investigates conducting a short survey of Bayside residents to discover what kinds of cultural or creative events, facilities or opportunities the community would like. I guess actually if I could amend it, just one more change, and that is that what kinds of creative practice our residents are currently involved with, instead of what facilities they would like.
So seconder? Seconding Councillor Hannah. All right, we have the original motion in front of us. So this is doing another survey. That's the recommendation. It's a motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Aye. I declare it lost.
Can I call a division? Thank you.
Thank you. Can we please get the division table? Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Muscat. Councillor Fadell. Councillor Jansen. Councillor Naji. Councillor Saranosky. Councillor Sunis. Councillor Werner. Councillor Wada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Hannah. Councillor Douglas. Councillor McDougall. Councillor Sedrak.
Against.
And I'm against. I declare the motion lost. Okay, we have 12.6, notice of motion, request for the New South Wales Government to provide more public housing. So I just note that 12.6 and 12.7 have been dealt with in the mayoral minute, and I did have that conversation prior to publication with Councillor Werner, where I expressed that the motion, the mayoral minute was being put forward following the housing summit. Everything was incorporated in that. There.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, could I just make a comment if you're not going to put it on? It's just that I had a lot more all local members should be written to, which is Minns, Camper, Honig, Daly, Rose Jackson, who is the Shadow Minister for Housing. They should all be included.
Yeah, so Councillor Barlow, if I can take you to the mayoral minute, where the mayoral minute specifically says, if I can find it. So the mayoral minute actually specifically says that council works with Resilient Sydney to jointly advocate to the federal and state governments to establish effective evidence-based policies and programs for the delivery of affordable housing. So it's a collective that's required in order to achieve the objectives that we're all working towards, and focused on delivering.
Madam Mayor, I think I recall that Councillor Warner said she will withdraw those two since she's added to the mayoral minute. I mean, there was an addition to the mayoral minute.
Excuse me, I did say that I would withdraw one, which is the one that we've already,
Werner?
the 12.7. So the one about the information session, because you're absolutely right, that has actually already been included. But 12.6 is actually quite separate because it's talking about public housing, which is very different to affordable housing. I know it's a technical detail, but it is very different, and I can explain it as part of explaining what this motion is about.
So, all right, so 12.7's been withdrawn. 12.6, you want to put the notice of motion, so you move that. Is there a seconder for that notice of motion? Seconded, Councillor Douglas. Like, speak to the motion.
Thank you. Yeah, so this notice of motion is specifically about public housing, and it is to write a letter to the Housing Minister and our local member, Steve Camper, and I can, yes, and all the other people that Councillor Barlow just named.
We have 4 state members.
And this is actually asking to inform them, and I know this part is similar to what's already been said, informing them that there's insufficient public housing. But B is requesting an audit of the condition of all public housing stock in the Bayside LGA, because there is a problem at the moment where public housing is not being maintained to the standard that it should. And part of the reason for that is that the Land and Housing Corporation that owns public housing is not actually receiving any funding. I had this information from someone I met at a housing conference who works for Land and Housing Commission, and she said they do not receive, they're self-funded, which means the only way that they can pay for maintenance is by selling off more public housing stock. So that is a self-cannibalization form of service provision, which actually reduces public housing stock. So given this, I think it is really important that that is actually changed. So this motion actually requests an audit of the condition of public housing stock, and then also at C, number 1C, requesting that public housing is repaired where issues immediately where issues exist that affect residents' health and running costs such as leaks, draft, damp, lack of insulation or mould, and that council investigates what more can be done through our own social and community assistance programs to help and assist those community members who need housing. So just to further support that, I've actually found a report from the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute that says, and I'll quote, because this is about the importance of public housing. Comparative modelling of funding and financing scenarios reveals that the capital grant model is substantially more cost effective for governments than privately financed operating subsidy models. Operating subsidy models underpinned by debt finance introduce a layer of cost that is simultaneously ultimately paid for by government, either through increased operating subsidy or increased tenant income, such as Commonwealth rent assistance and other social security payments. So what this is saying is that the direct funding through capital grants of housing is actually much more bang for buck for the taxpayer than other models of financing. And this is what I think we should support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Naji.
Oh, Madam Mayor, sometimes I sit here and wonder, am I in a council chamber or in Parliament, State Parliament? I'm not sure. But it's with respect, and I understand the passion that Councillor Werner has for public housing. And a matter of fact, I have people that are affected by public housing. But this is a state issue. We have no jurisdiction. And I think these lobbying and that, maybe Councillor Werner, and certainly my suggestion, she doesn't have to do it, is to lobby the Green Party members, or the Labor members, or the Liberal members in Parliament to advocate for what she's trying to do. I'm just lost. What jurisdictions do we have? What role does a council have in public housing? So I find difficulty supporting that. And for us, Councillor Werner, she should go and lobby the state MPs from all parties, not just the Green Party. Because what disturbs me since 2004, and we've had certain councillors in the past, they bring state issues into council. Let's concentrate on local government and what we are about to achieve in this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Councillor Bala.
Just to make a comment, I mean, we're just going to write letters. I could name, I think there's Badagig, there's Muslimani for a little while, there's lots of people. But the issue is, it's not ours, but the issue I have, and I think all councillors should have, is the fact that the state government's combining with private developers, like we've got at Arncliffe now with 23 stories. All we got out of that was 40 units. So all you've got to hope is maybe if the state government changes in March next year, they look at that, because it's questionable what's going on. So that's what our concern should be, is the fact of the state government, current state government at the moment, is combining with private developers to build, and they throw in just a token of public housing. That's the problem. That's what we should be worried about. I mean, it's their job to do it, but we should be lobbying the minister, or they're all the opposition at the moment. So, yes, I mean, okay, it's just writing a letter, but I think it's something that should be done. Maybe there's other people we should think about that should be written as well, but they're the local members, so.
Any other speakers?
Look, I have to rise here to follow on from Councillor Naji here. This is a state issue. I'm absolutely supportive of the public housing crisis, but to write to our really dedicated and brilliant state members to tell them that there's insufficient public housing is somewhat of an insult. We've got the Leader of the Opposition who's on TV every night at the moment talking about how bad it is. We've got Ron Honig, we've got Michael Daly, we've got Steve Camper, and every time you talk to them, they'll raise something about the lack of public housing. I was talking to Ron Honig the other day, and the number one complaint, or one of the number one complaints in his office, is from public housing tenants and the lack of resourcing. This is an inefficient state government, and frankly, writing to our local members who are supportive and know of all these things suggests that then they don't know about it. So again, I don't think this is for debate. This is for consideration on this floor. The members, yes, they are all from the same party, but they all know the problems, and they are all vocal about those problems against the sitting state government, who is quite frankly not doing a good job with this stuff. It's not for us to solve. They're aware of it. They have our support, and they know about it. So I just think this is a waste of council staff and resources when we've got all these other things that we've debated tonight. That's what we need to focus on, not things that are already known. So I'm not supportive of this one.
Thank you, Councillor Morrissey. Councillor McDougall.
I'd just like to respond to Councillor Morrissey, who missed out on the Honourable Rose Jackson, the Shadow Minister for Housing, who's been a fantastic advocate for all of these issues, but I'm sure she's, as Councillor Morrissey said, well aware of them. She's been a particularly strong advocate against the repurposing of public housing land for high-rise private development, as we're seeing at Arncliffe, where we start with a 3-storey walk-up with 45 units in it, and we get a 23-storey walker with 40 public housing units in it and 200 other units. So look, as Councillor Morrissey said, I think these people are all across the issues. The incumbent housing minister, I very much doubt they're going to conduct the audit that they haven't done in the last 11 years, as they've seen the public housing stock degrade that is suggested here. As Councillor Morrissey said, these are people who are passionate about this issue, and I don't think a letter's going to change that.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Any other speakers? Would you like a right of reply? Would you like to speak, Councillor?
I mean, I hear what you're saying about the local advocates that we have in our community and the local members of parliament, but I also note that it does say to write to the housing minister, who has the responsibility for this portfolio and is the elected representative. I think it's a symbolic act. It shows that we are connected to our community. We are the closest form of government to the community. We are here to listen, to represent them, and to be a voice for them. And I think that's why it is important that even though this is a state issue, we do make these applications on the behalf of the community, just as you, Madam Mayor, brought up the Uluru Statement from the Heart today, which is going to be a federal referendum, but you're asking us to do work at Bayside Council level to educate the community. So we work across all layers of government. I don't think we should just put it into one pillar and say, no, this is only for state government, therefore we're not going to make representations on behalf of our community. I think we're being hypocritical, where we're doing it with one issue because it's being supported, but we're not doing it with another one. And quite frankly, what I'm seeing more and more is there's clear sort of partisan issues that are creeping into the way this council is dealing with issues tonight, and it's pretty concerning.
Can you stick to the point, please, which is in relation to the motion that's in front of you?
Yeah, so I think as a local government representative, we should be looking outside of partisan issues and working collectively to represent our community, and I think that's what Councillor Werner is asking us to do today.
Would you like right of reply?
Thank you. I agree that this is a state and federal issue, but that does not stop us from advocating on behalf of our residents to the state and federal members. I agree that there has been a lot of talk by our current members and also by the federal government about housing. I think this is wonderful. I think and I really do hope that there is a change of government and that we have more action on housing. But one thing I have not heard them talk about is public housing. There is a lot of talk about social housing, which a lot of it is owned by community housing providers, which are also private organisations. And then there's talk about affordable housing, which is actually it's nowhere near social and public housing, because affordable housing is slightly less than market rent. So a lot of people who are on statutory incomes or earn the lowest incomes would not be able to afford so-called affordable housing. So this is why I think public housing as a separate issue is really worth advocating for. And I think it is worthwhile reminding our local members and the housing minister, and maybe we can also include the shadow housing minister. So yeah, I would hope that you support this motion for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. All right, we have a motion in front of us. All in favour say aye. Against? I declare it lost. Division's been called. Can you, Councillor Naji, we have a division. Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Muscat, Councillor Vidal, Councillor Jansen, Councillor Naji, Councillor Saranowski, Councillor Souness, Councillor Werner, Councillor Wada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Hannah, Councillor Douglas, Councillor McDougall, Councillor Cedric,
Against.
and I'm against. I declare the motion lost. Okay, councillors, that takes us to number 13. So any questions on notice? With notice will have been submitted. So there are some questions with notice on the screen there. So thank you for those notices of motion. We take those. They will be put into the minutes. All right, councillors, this takes us to number 14, which is the confidential reports. Therefore, in accordance with section 10A4 of the Local Government Act and Council's Code of Meeting Practice, I invite members of the public to make representations as to whether or not this part of the meeting should be closed to the public to consider the confidential items. There being no representations, I move that council closes the meeting to the public for the reasons outlined in the report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Saranowski. All those in favour say aye. Against? I declare it carried. So one moment as we turn off. Councillors, we're back in open session, so thank you for your time. We have for 14.1, we have the resolution on the screen, as noted. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 10:44 p.m. Thank you.